Welcome back. Thanks for coming back. This is episode 2 of Broken and Outspoken. So today's topic is reasons we become broken. There are many, many reasons. There's different ways we become broken. So some of them might be mind, psyche, right?
Yeah, anything mind, body, soul.
Exactly.
We can break in a lot of different ways.
Absolutely. Our psyche, physically, our soul. Like, what would be an example of being broken in your soul? If you're disenchanted with your religion, something within your religion, sadly, could break you, right?
Yeah.
We've all read the news. I mean, I don't watch the news anymore, but we've all heard in the past, right? So those are different ways. So mind, body, and soul. Different things that can break us as we progress through life. So like we talked about last time, we're born, we're innocent, we're dependent. We're just this little thing, right? Going to go through life, and then things can make us or break us.
I like how you use the word thing right there, because you know what? We're not really one way or the other when we're born. And I think society now comes to show us that there's so many people identifying as all these different things. And I say things so freely too, because it's not just he, she anymore. It's really what hits me and what do I feel that I can relate to now that I want to identify as.
And with.
And with, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a good topic to bring up in the sense of when you're born, you're dependent and you're considered almost a thing at that point. Yes, we come into the world one way, which I'm sure could be a big topic in and of itself now that we think about it. But
which I had not thought about.
No, but it's true though. Mm-hmm. That dependency feeling really runs rampant. And I think that's why, to your point, something could be really soul crushing. Yep. You know, you're really dependent on whomever it is at that point in time.
Who are your caregivers?
To guide you and build you and put you into what this beautiful picture is that you're going to consider life at that point in time. But to your point, what is life? What is it that you're being put into?
And who is your caregiver? Your caregiver doesn't necessarily have to be your parents, right? Mm-hmm. It could be parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. You could be unfortunate to the point where you've lost your parents for unforeseen, what have you. Yeah. And those are some of the things that break us, right?
Absolutely.
So,
and some people break very early on in life, to your point,
right,
due to circumstances like that. And some of us, it takes a little bit longer to realize the cracks and crevices that are forming. True. For instance, some of us, grammar school, things start to go awry and we start to realize little cracks and crevices and, just the little things that you realize. You start doodling in a journal. Mm-hmm. Feelings, that's usually the first thing. Our feelings start to be the telltale sign. What are we feeling? Are we feeling a negative feeling? Are we feeling a positive feeling?
That makes me think, like my father-in-law, we just say, well, I have thick skin.
Yes.
Right? So how do you get that thick skin? If you're born this innocent little thing, baby, child, right? How do you get that thick skin? You get that thick skin through dealing with life, through going through the shyness, the social awkwardness, the bullying.
Big time.
Right? And then we also have overbearing parents or under-involved.
Absolutely.
Right? So
are you in a bubble? Are you not in a bubble? Are you, like we talked about episode 1, are you a scrapper? Like I associate myself to be a scrapper.
You're going to elaborate on that at some point.
We're going to do a whole episode on scrappers. Uh-huh. It's really more or less the sense of you were born into an area of what you consider life. I had parents that were, yes, they were always there, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them hands-on parents in the sense of I learned a lot of things myself.
They were there, but not there.
Exactly. And honestly, also just figuring out what I liked, what I didn't like. And I saw other people do things that didn't necessarily make a lot of sense and they got in trouble for it. So I learned what not to do based on other people's mistakes. So that's what I mean when I say scrapper too. You learn through the hard knocks of life almost.
To your point, right? So we're born into our parents. Our parents did the best job that they knew.
Absolutely.
We do not come out with a book that says, I am Lotus, this is what I need, this is how I need you to raise me, this is what I need you to raise me to be, right?
Yeah.
We're born, our parents do the best they can, based on their history, their past,
Correct.
which is based on their parents and down the line, right?
And you can't fault them for that either, everyone.
No.
There's no faulting your parents. I think, though, and I'm so sorry if I interrupted in any way to this.
That's okay.
You just triggered a thought for
Yeah,
me.
go ahead.
I don't think that you can fault your parents, because I think a lot of people grow up and they say, oh, it's because I was raised this way, or
Right.
it's because of X, Y, and Z, or it's this or it's that. After a while, the excuses need to stop.
Absolutely.
You become old enough.
Right. And that is where I was getting to. So our parents raise us the best they can. But as parents, we make a decision. We make choices to raise our children our way, just like they did.
Yes.
I mean, it was based off of their past, but they made the decisions that they made based off of their past and based off of what they thought parenting should be, right?
Yeah.
So like there are times like when I was raising my kids and my parents are like, well, you should this or you should that or you did this well or you did that well. You know, it's just like the other day you were talking, your daughter was at work and she was not wanting to listen to you because she was like, this is boring. And I was like,
Yeah.
come sit over here.
Yes.
And you're like, you're so much better at this and you explain it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I may explain it better to your child, but trust me, to my child, I would have gotten the same reaction.
It's different.
This is boring, Mom. This
Absolutely.
is stupid. Why am I here? Absolutely.
Yes.
And those are things that as we move forward in our life, we're raising our children. Our children think we're terrible parents because of things like that. Or we're great parents, right?
Because of our acknowledging
Right.
the different things that our child needs and adapting accordingly.
And
which is
what
key.
broke us.
Exactly.
So
and that's huge.
right. We could say, this in my childhood broke me this way.
Yes.
And I'm not going to do that. Or I'm going to do it better.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to do it different.
Or I'm just
Right.
aware of it in general. And just
Yep.
being aware of the fact that not everyone is a one size fits all gives you that one thing in life that is very different from everyone else. And it's almost like a superpower.
I like superpowers.
I love superpowers.
I don't have that. No, it's not true. I have a lot of
I
superpowers.
think everyone has superpowers,
Yes.
honestly. And knowing that in and of itself, I like where you're going there, because not even from a parental figure or anything like that. This can just be
from a
anyone
person.
in general.
From life.
Realizing that in and of itself is that you are not necessarily history in the making. You're not. You're your own person. And you can create your life accordingly. Still keeping in mind a tradition
Yep.
or something that makes you feel like there's some kind of historical mindset in place there as well.
Or meaning.
Or
Not just
meaning.
mindset, but meaning.
Absolutely. But there's a difference there. And there's got to be something there in terms of their meaning the present state and going into futuristic state. But you have to understand that times change and they change for a reason.
Yeah.
And you not only need to keep up with the changes, but you also have to have that adaptive mindset to change. And if you don't, it's not that, you live in the past or anything like that.
Right.
But I think you almost do yourself a disservice by not keeping up with the times, because you're not helping yourself evolve. And life is all about evolution.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of different takeaways we can have with this episode as we move forward in it.
Yeah.
Because breaking is one of the best things that you can do in life. Because as you break,
Not always, though.
no,
Depending.
but as you break, you evolve.
Right. But there's a degree of breaking, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So you're talking about changing and evolving and
Mm-hmm.
keeping up with the times, right? So let's talk about that for a quick second.
yeah.
So don't watch the news, but every now and again on my news feed, I'll pick and choose what I read, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is interesting, and I have a big place in my heart for anything that affects children, right? And if I read that a child got hurt, killed, whatever, and I read it, and it's like, well, so and so was walking home from the after school play and got whatever, right? And that so and so's like 11, 12 years old. And right away I'm like, why are they walking alone? And then I think, my gosh, when I was their age, I would walk 2 miles to my girlfriend's house by myself.
Yeah.
I would, bye, Mom. When I got there, I would call her, I'm here, I'm safe. Was not a thought. And now, as the world is changing and not always in the best way,
Yeah.
I find myself being judgmental, which is not good. That's a broken spirit.
Yeah.
Because, and that's part of a broken soul for the children, because they're the innocents. And to me, it's like, why would you break a child?
Yeah.
In
No,
any
it's
way.
true.
Right? So those are some of the ways of being broken. Broken dreams. Let's talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. So I think that goes back to a lot of our steps forward in life.
Yep.
So as we come out, we need to break, almost like a stone.
Yep.
So it's a compression thing. Well, as we get older, we know that in terms of us finding ourselves more or less, we're going to have these key aspects in life where we're going to hit different obstacles. As we hit those different obstacles, can be a dream, something like that. We're taught to dream big when we're younger. Those dreams don't necessarily always happen the way that we dream them up to be.
Right.
But those breaking moments within our dreams lead to the creation of new dreams. But you have to understand what it's like to break in a positive way, to put those moments together and piece them, back to our puzzle mentality, into something else and create beauty out of those pieces. And that's what's so powerful about our breaking and our broken pieces that allow us to then speak about them later in the line. So becoming broken is, again, going back to our point before, it's not a bad thing. But
not
it
always.
does happen.
Yep.
And it might be a painful process as it does happen.
Yes.
And we don't understand it either.
In
Why
the moment,
is it happening
right.
to us?
Exactly. Why me? Why me? Like if we think about broken dreams, right? So say you want to be a professional athlete, right? So many kids aspire to be professional athletes. And then all of a sudden there's an injury. And that injury ends your professional career. That is a huge broken dream. That's
Absolutely.
a huge break.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why me? What did I do? Why did it have to happen to me? How do I move forward from this? This is all I wanted to do. This is all I trained for my whole life.
What I was here for.
Right. And then you find your way through it to the other side of that light and tunnel. And you're like, okay, I may not be able to play whatever sport it is I can teach it. I can coach. I can mentor. There's still a place for me.
Absolutely.
My heart is now repairing.
Yes.
Right?
Very much so.
Through the outspokenness of it all.
Absolutely. No, that's a great example right there. So that's a great avenue of breaking. We also have a lot of places where you grow and you put a lot of trust and security into your family, your friends, teams,
Your support group.
any support group. And at the slightest moment, if they do something malicious or if they unknowingly hurt you when they're meaning to do well for you, that breaks you tremendously. And then that hurts your trust.
Yep.
And when your trust is broken and your spirit or
It's a
anything,
hard way to get back.
it's a mental break.
Yep.
And it's more than the physical, because you physically look okay on the outside, but your internal that's broken. And when you're damaged that way, it's so much harder to repair that. It's a lot of soul searching. It's a lot of talking. It's a lot of communicating, not only to others about what's going on,
To yourself.
but to yourself.
To yourself.
And I think there's a lot there when you have that, and you can't just go about it and fix it all in one day.
Oh,
The
no.
amount of
It's a
time-
long journey. It's a very long journey to fix you when you're broken.
Yes.
There's a lot of work. I mean, and it was funny. I was watching a comedian last night, and he was talking about his journey. So he was addicted to drugs, and they had this intervention, and he went through this whole stages of his intervention and how angry he was when he walked in and saw them. He's hysterical. But it was true. It was his life, right? All the way down through, and now he's a whole person again.
Yeah.
Right? And he's got his life back. Getting your life back is the ultimate goal. It is the ultimate FU to whatever broke you.
Absolutely.
Like, I am back. I am fixed, and I'm going to take on this world.
Absolutely.
So we can break physically, emotionally, spiritually. We have a list here of reasons that can break us. But if at the end we can come out and stand straight with our head up high and say, I made it. That's what we aspire to.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? Lotus is right. We have a list, but we don't even need a list, honestly, because we know
them all.
We know them all. It's stuff that we go through on a daily basis. It's adolescence, it's bullying, it's physical stuff that happens to us. It's the dream, as you mentioned. It could be a religious identity that you somehow realize, oh my gosh, it's not what it was told to me as.
Right.
And what do I do now? Because I associated with this for so long. This is who I am. No, it's not. It's a piece of who you are.
Good
who
point.
Who you are is
that
you
puzzle
in and of itself.
It's that puzzle. All those pieces fitting together.
Yes.
We're parents.
Yes.
We're friends. We're women above all. That's right? We work. We take care of our families.
Mm-hmm.
We
We're
travel.
multifaceted. We are multifaceted entities, and that's the best way to look at us.
Whether you're a man,
constantly
woman,
evolving.
or somewhere in between.
Anywhere in between.
Exactly.
Whether you identify as my mug right here. Honestly, I would love that because then I would just drink you all the time. You'd be my coffee. But it's really important for all of that because it doesn't matter. And then it goes back to the racial, the ethnicities, the religions, everything in and of itself. We're people. We're humans. We are us. We are you. We are everybody. And that's what's so important. And we're here for each other because at the end of the day, there is nobody who is going to be able to be you and understand you like you.
Or better than you.
Or better than you.
Yep.
So why not continue to constantly work on you throughout the day and life and be better than the person you were yesterday? Like one of my favorite sayings is, I'm in competition with nobody but myself.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
I think that as life's gone on and we've talked to other people in life, the only people that have problems are the ones that are constantly trying to compete with people.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
You can't do that.
You can't.
That itself will break you.
Exactly.
Because you want more, you need more, you strive for more. You don't have the financial ability, the time, the inclination, or even the interest for that more.
Absolutely.
But yet, because they have it and you don't, you work at it.
Absolutely.
And that, in the end, will break you.
I agree. It's
Absolutely.
a persona almost.
Absolutely.
Like, have you ever realized, and I know a lot of you will know exactly where I'm going with this, but did you ever just walk into a room and you instantly feel uncomfortable because you know all eyes are on you for some reason?
Absolutely.
Like, it's just an awkward feeling.
Yep.
So, I don't know about
And then you want to quietly back out of the room.
You want to quietly back out.
I'm done.
So you know what that is? That's your inner introvert just being like, oh my God, what is everybody looking at? And you're insecure.
And I'm so introverted.
You're insecure.
Right.
But then you sit back and you think about it, take that feeling, feel it, and then go
Flip it.
into it and lean into it and flip it. Exactly.
Yep.
Because if they're looking at you for whatever reason, own it.
Yep.
Great. Keep looking at me. I must have something that you don't have, or I must
right.
have something that you want. So keep going. You have that level of confidence that nobody else has that's already having people attracted to you.
So I have a funny story
Don't
about
be
that.
insecure about it.
I have a funny story. So I was in a store, and there was a lady. She was a little older than me, and she had the high heels that have that like inch heel in the front too.
Oh my God. The platforms.
I don't know what the heck they call them, but
They're
yeah.
huge.
And this lady comes walking in with them, and I'm like, and in my mind, I'm thinking I'd break my neck.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them.
She's
She
owning
turned,
them.
she looked at me. She goes, "Aren't they pretty?" And
See?
I'm like, "Yes, they are."
That's right.
Because I'm like trying to get my husband to look because he knows that I'd kill myself in them.
It opens the conversation.
She turned
though.
around. She goes, "Aren't they pretty?" I'm like, "Yes, they are."
That's
Own
right.
it.
Own it.
And be happy.
Own it and be happy. And
But
she
because
loved
I'm so shy, I couldn't go through and say, "But I'd break my neck." I was like, "Yes, they are."
Yeah.
Because I felt uncomfortable staring at her, but I'm like, "Damn, I'd kill myself."
Yeah. But you're almost envious in a way.
Yes, exactly.
But
because
our
you
envy
are
turns.
you're so confident that you're willing to put it out there.
That's right. But
I'm not.
our enviness our ability to envy, I don't know if I said that right for a sec. Our ability to envy turns into almost a negative automatically.
Right.
And we
At first, yes,
at
absolutely.
first, and we look, and I've noticed that everywhere, not just even in those types of settings, but those people that are all confident and flamboyant and what's another good word for that? I don't know.
They're just confident. They're out there.
Yeah, but not even. I was thinking of something else like flamboyant, but extra. I'll say extra. Extra in a sense of they're just bold. They're big, bold, and beautiful in the sense of here I am, world. Like they'll wear these
Take
outfits.
me or leave me.
Take me or leave me, and they don't care. There's no in between. You look at them and you're just like, ooh, I don't know about that. Like I don't know if I'd be that way.
Not sure I'd wear that out in public.
It's not you.
Right.
And it gets
it's not yours to judge.
Thinking, and it's not yours to judge.
But we do.
And
We
it's
do.
okay. And it's normal and it's natural. But
Sometimes
take
I'm not
that,
sure it's okay.
Yeah, but take that piece and let it simmer. Like, I'll just say it straight out there. I look at people right away that are a little more larger than life and wearing clothes a little bit too small for them. Like, that's the first thing that I look at, and I'm just like... But then, you know what? I took that and thought about it because we were actually creating this episode. Yeah. And I'm like, God, I would love to be that person because I know for me specifically, I'm not big in any sense of the word. I'm actually pretty tiny, but I'm super uncomfortable about my size more often than not.
Very insecure about that,
right?
Yep.
So there'll be times where I'm constantly like, oh, like even here. Oh my gosh, is my shirt okay? I got to make sure I go like this so I hide my chichos.
And that's why Betty sits on my lap.
Right? And
although Russ told me I need a bigger dog.
You could borrow my dog.
No.
But it's the truth. It's more like you have your own inner insecurities. Securities is not the word.
I'm envious of them. That they can go out and say, love me, hate me, judge me, whatever. This is me. This is what I'm wearing.
Jealousy is envy.
Yep.
It's just flipped. So if we take those pieces, and those are things that often lead to people being broken in life as they move forward, and us breaking people, and people breaking other people.
Yep.
Flip it into a more positive light and kind of do some self-reflection with it in a sense. I think we'd be a lot further as we move forward in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right? So let's go on with other reasons or other ways why we can be broken.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Oh, so let's go back to the comedian.
Okay.
Substance abuse.
Okay.
Substance abuse will break us.
Yes.
It will. So think about it. Like when you're young, he said he started drinking at 8 or something.
Oh my gosh.
Like
and he did it to get away from life probably.
I don't know if it was to get away from life or it was just fun. Right? At that age. But
Did it start that way because he saw somebody having fun doing it?
I don't know. But
That's
it
interesting.
evolves, right? So we start with drinking. And then, when you're young, you start with the street drugs, right? The street drugs.
Because they're easy access. They're right there.
Right. Then you get older, and then you start with the legal, like the medicine.
Yep.
Right? So everybody's on Ativan. Everybody's taking Xanax.
Yep.
Everybody's taking Lexapro.
Adderall if you're in college.
Yep.
That's a big one to help you study.
And those, if you need them legitimately, will help you.
Yes.
If you're taking them because of whatever effect they're giving you,
Yep.
that eventually is going to break you.
Absolutely.
Wind you up in the rehab. It could ruin your family.
Yep.
It could steal your job.
Yeah.
Like it can break you in so many ways.
It numbs you. It numbs you to the point where you can't feel and you can't have that time to self-reflect on whatever it is that's bringing you there.
Right, but you're also not productive. So it robs you. Like think about it. If you're going to spend your time being stoned out of your mind, right? That's going to take your family from you. You're not going to be present. You're not going to be helpful. If you're so stoned you can't work,
oh gosh,
you're not contributing to the household. You're not a loving parent, a loving spouse. You are stoned, right?
That's your main focus.
Right.
And I think that's also too the thing there is your priorities change.
Absolutely. And that's where the intervention comes in.
Exactly. You become focused on the wrong things.
Absolutely. So that's another way that we become broken. A really rough one for women that we are. Miscarriages, the loss of a child, the loss of the ability to have a child.
Yep. Trying to conceive.
And
the long process that takes sometimes for a lot of people.
And some people can't. No matter what the process is, they can't. And that is very, very...
emotionally taxing.
Yeah. And that will break you. I mean, if that is your dream, I mean, I don't know how I would have been if I had that. I mean, I had fertility issues and miscarriages, and that was extremely difficult. I had 2 miscarriages. You know this. Mm-hmm. I had one very early. I had one later, right? And that was really, really hard. But then I wound up with my son, and life is good. But if I couldn't have my children, would I have been okay with adoption? I feel I would, but I can't say that because I've never been in that position. I've been fortunate. God blessed me with 3 beautiful boys. Mm-hmm. And then I got a girl. She's a little fuzzy, but that's all I got. That's okay. But, you know, the heartache of a miscarriage, just the heartache of, you know, there are days that I think, gee, you know, if I would have had that child would be this old.
Oh,
that child may have been a girl.
Absolutely.
But in the end, I have Sebastian. So I can say, you know what? It hurt. It broke me. It broke me hard. Mm-hmm. But I have Sebastian.
Yeah.
And there are people that can't say that. And I can't imagine the heartbreak of working through that. Like the coming back from that piece of it.
Yeah, no. And your point exactly. And, you know, so it does hit heavy. So a lot of people don't know this about me, but I have 2 kids and I did suffer a miscarriage as well when we were attempting to have a third. That better not come near me. I see it. There is a stink bug in here. And for all of you who know me, I am, from the first episode, terrified of bugs. And this one just randomly flew in here. So it is flying around as we're filming this one.
No,
so
it's sitting on the table looking at you.
If you happen to see me scream/jump, that is why. But I'm going to put a big brave face on and move forward. No, but yeah, so I did suffer a miscarriage as well. It was very early on, thankfully, but definitely lost.
Doesn't make it any easier.
Doesn't make it any easier, and we have had to go through a lot of things as human beings that I think, and I'd like to say, ground you for the long run as well and make you more relatable. And that's what I'd like to think in terms of moving forward as well with a lot of these things, because it was never my intention to have a third child. I would love more kids from that sense, but it was also another way for me to feel for not only myself, but feel for other people in these situations, because knowing that we were going to start doing this as well, it made me feel more relatable.
Yeah.
It made me understand a lot more for other people, not just women, but men as well. Yeah. And women who struggle with getting pregnant and going through the emotional ups and downs as well with it. Yeah. And then it also made me think about what would have happened if I would have actually gone forward and had the baby, and then, God forbid, if something could have happened to it after the baby had come. Because I've seen a lot of friends, I've seen a lot of people that have struggled with infants being born and, God forbid, that whole stillbirth situation, or having a child that's then terminally ill and not making it past the first year of life even. So there's a lot of other things at play there. And humility is huge, and humanity coming together and learning this about each other and understanding really what it takes to be a whole human and have that human aspect in there, because that's when we start to understand really that there's not just one side of us anymore. It's not that mom side. It's not the wife side. It's not the woman side.
It's the human side.
It's the human side.
And it brings everything back into perspective.
Yeah, it changes a lot of things. It really takes a toll on what's valuable to you as a person, what's valuable to you as a human being.
Yep. What you can give back as a human being.
Exactly.
Another way that we're broken is death.
Death, 100%.
So
everyone
whether
reacts different to it.
Yes. And whether it's the death of someone that's been a slow, painful, you've watched them go through the process, or if that person was taken like this. We each know someone that died rather suddenly. So a friend of mine lost siblings. Two of them died from cancer, and she watched them suffer. One of them was hit by a car and taken instantly. And we used to talk years and years and years ago about which was easier. Neither.
Nothing.
Neither is easier because that person is no longer in your life, right? So that makes you broken. And how do you come back from that? It's not easy.
No.
It's a day-by-day process. I lost someone years ago in a car crash. And it's a day-by-day. Like, I still think of her.
Of course.
I go by the site where she died. There's a cross there. And, it's like, I say, what would she be like today? What would her life be like? She may or may not still be in my life because she wasn't related to me. She was just someone special. She would be X years old now, and she was kind of lost. Would she have found her way? Yeah. Wouldn't she? Things like that. It's like, it breaks your spirit, but you have to find a way to deal, to get back.
Coping mechanism.
Right. And it's a day by day. It really
Absolutely.
is. Death will rob you of so much if you let it.
And you know what's important too, and I think this is a big call out because just recently I came up with something like this. When you lose someone that you love, you need to understand, and it's important that everyone understands this, not everyone handles death the same way.
Absolutely. So, everyone grieves different, and everyone copes different.
Correct. So sometimes everyone will, I shouldn't even say everyone anymore, but sometimes people feel more comfortable saying deepest condolences, reaching out, talking about it. Sometimes people don't want to do that because they know everyone else is doing it. Yep. And it might make them feel a little bit more uncomfortable, or feeling like, okay, let you have your time to grieve and I'll come back to you at a later time. Yep. So I think it's a little harder when people try to say, oh, this person reached out to me, so these people are good. These people didn't reach out to me, so now I'm upset with them.
Right.
I don't think you can really do that because everyone handles it differently. And for me personally, I've been around a lot of death, dying, and honestly, I'm a sociology major, and I don't know if I've said this to anyone here, but I've also taken a lot of classes on death and dying. So it's changed the way I viewed death and dying as a whole and from the society aspect. So it's also changed the way I've reacted to it, and I've reacted to a lot of social situations in it too. So I've realized that some people get angry with me.
Yep.
If I don't reach out to them right away or even reach out to them at all with it. But for me personally, sometimes I'm not comfortable reaching out to you about it. Sometimes I almost feel like it's a little bit easier to not reach out to it because of the situation at hand, which again, I could be at fault for not doing it, but I've now reached this point in the stage of my life where I'm unapologetic, I want to speak the right way, about how I feel about doing certain things that I do in my life. And that's a big point that I wanted to make in this episode specifically. There's all different ways that we become broken, but there's all different ways that we also know how to learn ourselves and master the way that we want to handle our own lives so that we no longer have to impress anyone else but ourselves.
That's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Abuse. So you got mental, you got physical, you have psychological. Abuse is huge. That will break you. That will break the toughest person. It'll break the smallest person. I mean, again,
and it'll cause more abuse too.
Right. It could be a perpetual cycle, which goes back to like the children.
Yep.
How could you abuse a child? You know,
or how could you abuse others in front of a child?
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's a good point. Like, there's a lot of domestic abuse. So, and why would you? Why would you not think, like, walk away? Just walk away.
I don't think people know sometimes, though. So I'll come to you guys with a lot of my own personal experiences, I want to say. So I grew up in a situation where my parents fought a lot. They'll never say there was any kind of abuse in the house whatsoever. And you know what? I'd have to say I wouldn't go along the lines of saying physical abuse. Yes, we were hit oftentimes, but like it was more of old school mentality in the sense of like, you want to talk that way? I'm going to slap you, like whatever, or toss something from across the room, and if it hits you,
There's
it
a
hits
difference
you.
between punishment and beating someone to death.
Exactly.
There's a
and that's
huge
beating
difference.
someone to death. I mean, that goes beyond physical abuse. That's just straight up malicious intent and like everything else. But
it was called discipline. That's what I'm thinking.
yeah. But the mental abuse and psychological abuse that goes on when living in situations that are constantly putting you on that edge of like you just never know, and you have that uncomfortable pit in your stomach.
That anxiety
ends up making you an anxious, broken person. And that's really important. So there'll be a lot of things as we move forward too that I want to hone in on that go more towards that psychological or mental abuse.
Yep.
And that'll really be geared towards more of what I want to talk to everyone about. But to your point, absolutely. Those are not okay in any way, shape, or form. And they leave wounds that not only last, but scar you. And those scars last forever.
Yep.
Forever.
And you may be able to heal your mind, heal your soul. You can't take physical scars away.
No.
And the emotional scars, you can cover them, you can fix them, but there are times where something can trigger them back.
Oh, absolutely.
So they're not gone, right?
No, yeah.
As much work as you can do on yourself to fix them, they're there under the core, and they can come back.
Yeah.
So those are things that we'll talk about moving forward as well.
Absolutely. And you know what? We want to empower you. I mean, one of the main things that I know that my goal is for everyone is we're damaged. I'm damaged. I'm broken, but I'm going to talk to you about how I've taken all of those and grown from them and take those and use them as a superpower, honestly, because it's knowledge and it's insight, and I've grown and I've become the best version of myself, and I'm not upset anymore. Like, there's not one thing that gets me upset anymore. If anything, I take it and I help people more with it. And
to your
you're
point,
going to understand.
If we can share our knowledge, share our life, we're not experts.
No.
We're just adults, right? So we've lived through
I'm
what we've
sometimes an
lived
adult.
through.
Sometimes not so much.
Well, yeah. Me too. We've lived through what we've lived through. We've come out the other end. We've fixed what we can. We're still fixing what we couldn't, right? And that's what we want to share.
Yeah.
And it's not all going to be hard. It's not all going to be painful. There are going to be people on where we're going to laugh the whole episode.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's
there
not
are
always
going to
be emotional touch points we're on.
Right. I mean, it's going to be fun. There's so much in life that we need to conquer,
And
do,
explore.
enjoy, explore. We could talk about travel at some point. I could tell you all about my trip when I went out of the country. I felt like a superhero. I was a rock star. I went all by myself.
No.
Scared the heck out of my mom because she's like, "You're gone. I'm out of here. Like, I got it. I got my passport. I got all my shots, and I am leaving the country."
That's exciting.
And I took that first flight, 14 hours, and I landed. I was like, I'm a big girl now.
See that?
I was 50-something years old, but I'm a big girl now.
But it's true. It
These
takes time.
Right. And these are things we're going to talk about.
That's amazing.
Next time. So next time, what are we going to talk about? We are just about out of time.
That's okay. Next time we're going to talk about the unspokenness. We're going to we're going to table the broken part, but we're going to talk about exactly what it is to become outspoken.
How we find our voice.
And we're going to help you find your voice.
I think until next time.
Until next time, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers.